All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, you already know what time it is, and right here, right now, we are live in full effect, and we got Sean Bouldin of 7A3, and also with a special appearance as well, we also have his brother, the founding member of 7A3, live on the line. How are you guys doing this evening?
Oh, I'm doing well.
I'm doing best I can possibly be. I'm pretty sure you guys heard the news. You know, right now it's definitely a wonderful time to be a Canadian with all the borders closed up and everything. It's definitely a wonderful, wonderful place to live in. But I know you guys are very, very busy, so I'm going to dive right into this. But as we already know, you both are founding members, and two-thirds of the group 7A3. I was wondering, what is the story behind the group, and of course, what actually made you guys come together and form this iconic group?
Correct. Well, the story is, I was rapping at the time, and I was good friends with Ice-T, and somebody had asked Ice-T to do a record, and he was like, I think Brett could do it. So I did the record, and that's how it all started. And it was based upon, I think you know, being raised in Brooklyn in East New York in apartment 7A, which was me, my brother, and my mother. So that's how I became 7A3.
And I gotta say as well, you guys had the legendary DJ as well, DJ Muggs, that actually did a lot of work with Cypress Hill. I have to say as well, man, such a phenomenal DJ. Like, was he doing the Cypress Hill thing back when you guys were doing the group, or was he just strictly 100% dedicated to 7A3?
Nah, we were doing both, because I don't know if you know, but I wrote Hand on the Pump for Cypress Hill, and I also did a lot of the hooks and the concepts as far as the group from Dubious. So we were working on it all at once, and to be honest, we had, in the process of doing Cypress, we had done a couple tracks for the second 7A3 album, which never came out. It was probably a little too political at the time.
Yeah. So to chime in on that, what happened is we were supposed to be launching Cypress and Funk Dubious on the second 7A3 album that he was just mentioning, and prior to, in all actuality, Mellow Man and B and Sin, they were rhyming, but they wasn't really taking it serious other than Mellow Man. Mellow Man got his deal in the 783 session. He got his deal for Mente Rosa. They wanted MC to do a Spanish rap, and they happened to be in one of our sessions, and that's where he got the deal. And then B-Real had got shot, and that's when Brett started.
That's when it got kind of serious.
Yeah, that's when he got serious. And Brett is the one who actually helped and taught B-Real how to write songs. B-Real was rhyming, but Brett helped him develop and structure his songwriting ability.
I gotta say as well, I actually did not. I did not know that. How long did it take you to actually teach B-Real to get to where he is today? Of course.
It didn't take that long. A lot of it came from because I was writing songs because when I first started rapping, I was rapping and I was in a group called Troublesome 2. And that's how I met Ice. And when I met Ice, Ice kind of taught me how to structure a song. You know, he gave me some basics, and then I went from there. So by the time I got to Be Real, it was just basically taking that freestyle approach, but introducing, different writers to concepts and to hooks and things of that nature. And it didn't take that long at all. I mean, once you kind of get it, you got it. So it's just, basically, it was like, B, here's a concept, or tell me a concept you got. And then he would tell me the concept, and I'd be like, well, what's the hook? And then at that point, it was like, well, what's the hook? And we just started building from there. But it didn't take them long at all.
And more just for the record, not only did he teach B-Real, but he also taught myself, Son Doobie, as well, how to structure and write songs.
And also, as well, in the year 1988, you guys actually released my personal favorite album titled Coolant and Cali. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about this earlier 783 release, and of course, has it actually been re-released on any streaming media services? That way the newer generation can get more familiar with your guys' earlier music.
Well, I'm not sure if it's been re-released, but what happened was I actually, to be quite honest with you, we had put out a single called We Will Rock You. And from We Will Rock You, we got a deal with Geffen. And actually me and Muggs, because at the time Sean was still doing his senior year in high school. So me and Muggs flew out to Philly to work under Joe the Butcher, Chris Schwartz, the same people who did the Rough House deal for Cypress. And we started working, but to be quite honest with you, when I got on the plane, I had maybe 16 bars for the album. I wrote that album in a month. And it was real, at the time it was real different because we were one of the first groups that used real live musicians. And if you hear, we had songs on there with an actual band playing the song. So that was really interesting about the first project and the first album.
And technically, that is the only album that's been released for 783. The second album was unreleased.
Oh yeah, the second album got shelved. Like I said, it was probably a little too political.
And I have to ask,
but maybe huh?
I was going to say, I have to ask as well, because I do know, like, today, this day and age is even worse than back in the day with cancel culture going on, everyone getting offended over everything, unfortunately. But do you think that record will ever see the light of day and this generation will be able to experience it?
Well, to be honest with you, we've been talking about it, all three of us have been talking about it, me, Sean, and Muggs. So I'm not going to say for sure so, I'm not going to say for sure not. But I do know, to be quite honest with, what's funny is that the things that we put on the album are probably a lot more relevant today than they were back then.
And also, as well, you guys also had the opportunity to open up for Public Enemy. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about that. And, of course, what was the story behind the show? Because back in those days, being able to open up for Public Enemy was huge.
So, I mean, opening up for Chuck, I think, wasn't that USC show when we did it?
Well, yeah, we did a couple of dates with Chuck and
Public Enemy. But it started at USC.
Yeah, it started at USC or UCLA or both. I know we did a little college tour with them originally, and that's when we was opening up. But we opened up with Down, we opened up with Hammer, we opened up with Kid and Play Guy, Frankie Beverly Mays, Salt and Pepper. We opened up with a lot of groups. Public Enemy. I got a story that might be interesting to you. We were in Seattle, and we have a song on that album called Lucifer. And there was a guy in the front of the audience screaming, "Lucifer, Lucifer, Lucifer!" And we never performed the song whatsoever. We had all the instrumentals, so we were like, "Yo, Muggs, throw on Lucifer." So Lucifer is a song that Brett did himself, and it was social, political, very, very driven, very life-driven. And he spit that verse, and as he was getting off stage, Chuck D walked up to him and said, "Yo, that's the dopest shit I ever heard."
Yeah.
And excuse
One
me
of the things that was cool. One of the things that was cool about working with Chuck is Chuck taught me how to use my voice. Like Chuck was like, "Brett, you got a real strong voice," and Chuck taught me how to use it. And it was when I did Lucifer that night that I realized the power of my voice.
And I gotta say as well, Chuck D is such a phenomenal individual, man. I've heard nothing but great stories about him as well, man. How, like, he's really, really solid to the people that are solid to him.
Oh, not only that, but what was solid about working with Chuck and being on tour with Chuck and Flav, to be quite honest, is that when we did Coolant, I don't know if you noticed, but Coolant and Cali was produced by the Bomb Squad. So we also had the relationship with Hank and Keith and all of those guys as well. So it was, it was a real good time. But yeah, Chuck is definitely someone that I took, lessons from, like Chuck, Rakim, Ice-T. These are people who I watched their stage performances and was like, oh, wow, okay, I can do this. And even Hammer, not like we weren't dancers and stuff like that, but Hammer had a stage show. And that's something that was very new to us and that we wanted to do. We wanted to give the people a show. So not just, two guys rapping. And, if you've ever seen Chuck and the S1Ws and, those were the guys who we kind of was like, all right, we got to implement that stage presence and that stage show, but in our way.
Yeah. And just another tad bit of information to answer your question is we were signed under Rush Management as well as Public Enemy. So some of the tours that we just spoke of was through Rush Management.
And also, the last 7A3 question I actually have was that your guys' version of "Take You Back" was actually featured on the Rocky V soundtrack. I was wondering, how did that opportunity originally arise for you guys? And of course, what was it like just being a part of one of the biggest movie franchise soundtracks of all time?
Well, actually, it was really interesting. I was in New York at the time, and I got a call from Bobby Simmons from Stetsasonic, the drummer from Stetsasonic. And he was like, yo, Brad, I have this opportunity. And they were asking me, and I was thinking of y'all, and would you be interested in doing it? And at the time, I don't think I knew it was for Rocky V. At the time, I think it was like I have this movie that I'll be able to put us on, and then looking to see if you want to do it. But I don't think I knew at that time that it was Rocky V. So we went in, and I sat with Bobby, and he played "Take Me Back," not the one we did, but he played the original. So I'm sitting there and I'm listening. I'm like, Bobby, ain't this from the Rocky movie? He's like, yeah, the movie's actually Rocky V. So we went in, we wrote it, and then we had a guy we grew up with who was a church singer who we knew since childhood, and we had him come in and sing the hook, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and Bobby played the drums and produced it.
Yeah.
And there it was.
And I have to ask as well, did you guys get the opportunity to visit the set of the movie, or was it just strictly soundtrack work?
No, it was just strictly soundtrack work because I think, if I'm correct, the movie was already done by the time we got in to do it.
Yeah.
To do the soundtrack. Like, it was already, I don't know if it was in the can or in the process of being in the can, but the filming, everything was already done.
And also, Sean, as well, from the year 1993 to 1997, you actually worked for national promotions at Interscope Records. I have to ask you, what actually made you decide to get into the behind-the-scenes work of the music industry? And of course, what was it like just working for Interscope?
It was very deliberate. What happened was, after we got shelved, I kind of left the industry. And as I was absent from the industry, I was looking at television. Brett was still writing with, B-Rail and Muggs and Sun Doobie. He was working on some solo stuff. And I was in New York and just doing regular life stuff. And I saw the fruits of some of our labor being what we helped along the way, being the success that they were having, them being on MTV, etc. And I was having my daughter, or I had my daughter's mother got pregnant by me. And so at that point, Brett was out here writing, and he said, I said, all right, I want to get in the industry, and I want to learn the business. And that was my goal. And I actually wanted to separate 7A3 in totality from it, which was one of my bigger mistakes. Had I known better, I would have done it differently. But I wound up going there and working with first. I worked with Immortal and Buzztone. Then I transitioned into getting a job offer through Interscope through King M's and Troy Shelton, and I was part of the rap department there. I became the rap department before I resigned. And right before I resigned is when I had brought Black Eyed Peas over to the, to Jimmy and them. And I resigned that year because my father had passed away, and I got back in it for the business part because of my daughter. My daughter lived in New York, so I wanted to move back to New York. So that's the reason why I resigned from Interscope. But I worked at several other labels after that, including Interscope again, independently.
And when you mentioned the Black Eyed Peas, I have to ask, how did you originally discover them? Like, how did you come across the Black Eyed Peas way back in the day?
Well, they were in the LA scene, and I was running around doing my stuff in the LA scenes, business-wise, promotion-wise, and I would run across Will often. And Will will always give me, he was giving me music since they were called the Hat Back Clan. And ironically, I never listened to the music. He would call me, he was very persistent in calling me, hey, you listen to my music, you listen to my music, you listen to my music. And technically, I wasn't an AMR, so I was like, nah. But I saw them perform around the circuit. And my brother had a record out through Immortal called Word to God, and he was performing at Northridge, CSUN, when I saw them perform last. And at that performance, Will and I had already established a rapport because of his specific and consistency and wanting me to hear his music. And I said, yo, you know what? That performance was so dope, always. But that performance that night, I knew I was resigning. I was like, yo, here's what I need y'all to do. I need y'all to come see me. And at that time, I was the actual head of the rap department. I was resigning as the head of the rap department. So I was like, yo, I need y'all to come up to the station. I'm going to introduce y'all to who y'all need to be introduced to and let them know that they need to sign you. All right, but I'm getting ready to resign, so come up there. So it was never about the music that I heard with the Black Eyed Peas, although I did hear, a lot of their stuff. It was more about their performance was impeccable, complemented by Will's persistence is the key to what intrigued me on how I ran across and how I introduced Will and the Black Eyed Peas over there in school.
And also as well, while your time at Interscope, you actually had the opportunity to work with a legendary R&B group Blackstreet, where you actually earned a platinum plaque. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about that business venture, and of course, what was it like just working alongside them?
Well, it's interesting. I worked alongside them there. I worked alongside them as well with DreamWorks, so I had a good rapport with them. I worked on that album. I worked on everything that was coming through Interscope. It wasn't just the hip-hop or the rap department. It was R&B. We had Limp Bizkit, No Doubt, Marilyn Manson. Whatever was coming through there. Shaquille O'Neal had an album out through there. You Can't Stand the Rain, which that's a whole nother story. But I worked with all of them. I actually took Blackstreet out on the road. I took Dr. Dre out on the road. I took Ice Cube out on the road. I took Swiss Beats out on the road as a label liaison on different occasions. So I did grow a good rapport. Matter of fact, I saw Teddy not too long ago, maybe about during the pandemic or right before the pandemic, at church, we had ran into each other and, had reacquainted. And, he's come on my live. I have some, I do a straight talk, He's a straight understanding on Instagram. And he's chimed in and joined me on that as well. So, it was a great experience. All of the people that I just mentioned have one thing in common, which is their professionalism and their work ethic. And that's why they're superstars today.
And I also saw as well that you were actually a talent scout for MTV Networks. I was wondering, how did you originally get connected with MTV? And of course, what was it like just working with one of the biggest music channels of that time?
Charles, before you answer that, I gotta go. Thanks for the time, though. I'll talk to you guys soon. I'm out.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
gotta
I
say,
agree. We appreciate you joining us. Thank you
No
for the
problem.
surprise.
definitely thank you so
Yeah,
much for
thanks for
actually
having
chiming in and joining us, man. It definitely was an honor. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Brett.
Thank you, guys. All right, have
All
a
right,
good
bro.
one.
All right, peace. I always had the ambition and desire to get into television and film, and still to this day I do so. And MTV, a friend of mine who I had befriended who was in that world, being television and film, he was more so in television and film, had gotten a deal, and he's the executive producer of a few bubbling projects, and one of the projects that he was executive producing called The Cypher, which was it was him and RZA. It never got the green light, but we did the whole pre-production. It was through MTV, through the MTV network. And quite frankly, MTV was a music network, which I've had a lot of dealings with because of the music industry, but it was actually a small network in comparison to the networks that he was used to working with. But he's the one who, Claude Brooks is his name, is the person who introduced me to that side of the industry, and he allowed me the opportunity not only to be a talent scout, but to also be a music supervisor for a show called Dance 360 that did get picked up in 65 places throughout the country, which was hosted by Fredro Starr, Kel Mitchell, and K Sly. And it was a dance show prior to the dance phenomenon of shows that are going on now. So we were a little ahead of our time, but it definitely allowed me to be a music supervisor on a music-driven show, which was a very significant task when it came to the job at hand for a person who had never done music supervision prior.
And I gotta say it as well, man. I miss MTV and the Canadian version as well, Much Music. I don't know, me personally, just being able to tune in at a certain time on TV, watch all the new music videos, beats YouTube any day in my personal opinion.
It definitely does, because YouTube is the microwave version, if you ask me, of a well-cooked meal, which MTV was a presentation of. It was very music-driven. It had shows that was music-driven. It had talent that was that was charismatic trendsetters, but they were all had the flair, the culture, and the style of hip-hop music specifically, but not exclusively. And so all of the talents, whether they were hip-hop driven, like the Ed and Dre's and Fab Five Freddy's, which was your MTV Rap before some of the other hosts, as well as transitioning to some of the other TRL hosts who all of them have became powerful entities in themselves. So yes, we definitely missed that, and it's a definite platform that is missing out of the industry in this day and age. I agree with you.
And also as well, I actually read on the internet that you actually had the opportunity to actually be around the late, great Biggie Smalls, also known as Notorious B.I.G. I was wondering if you can actually tell our listeners a bit more about that, and of course, what was it like just being around Biggie?
Well, it's interesting. I was around Biggie. I was more around Pac, of course, because I worked with Interscope, and you asked me that earlier, how with Interscope. I worked at Interscope during Death Row days. I worked at Interscope when Death Row dismantled. As a matter of fact, hit him up. All Eyes on Me, the Doggy Style, the Dog Food, Above the Rim, Chronic, and Chronic 2001. I worked all of those. While at Interscope, then I transitioned and worked with Eminem and I worked with Aftermath, Shady, and G Unit, and the rest of the count on labels. But to answer your question about Biggie, I was at the show, and ironically, that was the last time I saw Leah and Biggie. Biggie, that night he got killed, it was I want to say an after party for Soul Train, which was hosted by Quincy Jones' daughter, Kagata. And I saw them inside. I saw the whole Bad Boy staff. And although I'm a person from Brooklyn, my musical career and adulthood years were out here in LA. So I didn't really know all of the I knew some of the bad boy cats that was doing what I was doing in the music industry, some of those executives, but I didn't know Biggie per se, although we had crossed paths and met at radio stations. So when I saw them there, I, living on the West Coast, was able to pick up the tension that was developing, or that was I saw was kind of odd in hindsight. You know, they was doing a lot of West Coast posturing, and usually they do that when it's gang on gang related. But they wasn't throwing up sets and yelling out sets. They were throwing up just West Coast and looking over at the entourage that Bad Boy had. Now, the irony of it all is that in hindsight, I realized that they might have been really not just posturing, but setting Biggie up while he was in there, simply because Biggie was sitting at a table and all of the attention was gravitating towards him. So it really looked like he was almost posturing and or gaslighting them, so to speak. Because everything was coming to him. He was in the West Coast. He was sitting in there, and he looked like he was a king because he had a cane sitting there in his Versace Coogee sweater. And so it looked like, because everything was gravitating towards him, like he was the Don. But what no one really knew is that he couldn't move because his leg was broken. He was in a car accident. So he had to sit there. But they were sitting there too long to where all of the West Coast guys were getting pretty agitated. You know, it was the time of cell phones. They had the bigger cell phones, and you could see people was caught on their phones, and it was saying West Coast. So that time was just a very unique time in hindsight. Had I had the foresight that I have now, I would have definitely warned him, yo, get out of here. But I did not. And in hindsight, it all came together. And being around that after it all was said and done was pretty eerie. After I had witnessed what I witnessed, and as I was walking out, like I said, I had known Aaliyah prior to, because Barry Hankerson was was our manager at 783. And Aaliyah was with me, so I had knew her, and I saw her for the first time in some years. And I was like, Aaliyah, what's going on? And that happened to be the last time I saw Aaliyah. And I knew not only Aaliyah in that plane crash, but a few of the people that I worked with through Barry were in that plane crash as well. So I saw two of the people that I knew and admired musically and professionally there last at that Soul Train after party where the tragic Biggie Smalls was murdered at.
And I have to say as well, you know, in my personal opinion, I think that was way too soon for him to go to California. But you know, at the end of the day, a lot of people forget that he was a really young individual. He was only 24 years old. So when I was 24, I didn't really think very much of stuff like that. I just kind of went and partied.
Well, the thing is, and I've known people around him. You know, I managed Charlie Baltimore, and she would tell me the story of what happened that night because she was there with him. She didn't go to the party, but they had gotten into a fight right before that party, according to what she shared with me. And so they knew it was it was risky. They knew that there was tension, but they were kind of doing their job. They were doing the rounds. Like I said, it wasn't that they were out there posturing. It was they were out there doing what artists need to do in order to continue your momentum. It's just make appearances, but they just stayed there too long, if you ask me. And they didn't recognize when the tension was being built up. Like I felt and I recognized and I saw that tension. I just didn't know why it was so intense because I didn't really see them until till the party got shut down and everybody had to leave. And that was the other thing that really was part of that whole tragedy, is that they would have left before anybody knew and would have been able to slip out. But because the fire marshals closed down the party, everybody had to leave at one time. So it gave even more ample opportunity for those people, whoever was behind it, the opportunity to say, okay, they're coming now, and we're out here. And, everybody was out there anyway because everybody was leaving the party. So they had to come out. So they knew when they was coming out. So it was really, I guess the Lord knew what we knew not, but it was really something that no one could have determined even if they tried to, other than just not going at all.
And also, as well, as you mentioned earlier on in the interview, you also have your own podcast/radio show titled Straight Talk, Straight Understanding. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about your show, and of course, how can our listeners actually tune in and check it out?
Okay, yeah, definitely. I do a Straight Talk, Straight Understanding. It was an idea that came up through a conversation I was having with a childhood friend, Tanya Jenkins, and we developed and we decided let's have let's create a platform where we can have some straight conversations between men and women, where we discuss issues, we discuss life, we discuss the different viewpoints and perspective, male versus female, but we discuss it with straight talk. We hold no filters. We don't get disrespectful with one another, but we don't hold our tongues. So that's where it derived, and she wound up bowing out and didn't want to continue. And with that being said, I wound up continuing it, and I did it just as a task to try and do something, to try and stay consistent with doing an online podcast version of a show. It's through Instagram, by the way, under Sean Bouldin. It's every Sunday evening in Eastern Time, 6 p.m., and afternoon, 3 p.m. Western Time. But it started out that way, and it just started growing, and people just started enjoying the topics and enjoying the perspectives that were being shared, even up until this Sunday, which was pretty ironic. So that's what it is. It's a platform, and I'm segueing it. Like I said, I'm interested in television and film, and my partner, my brother, myself, and our partner Marvin Green, we have a company called My Beverages, which we have a CBD enhanced water, and Marvin Green also has a production company called Media Heist, and a lot of the visuals that we do is through Media Heist, and a lot of the ideas. We did a web series called Welcome to Doobie Land. We did, which explored the cannabis community, medicinal and recreational overall. And the pandemic kind of slowed that down because we was covering festivals and doctors, and because of the pandemic, we couldn't cover it as much. So that put a halt on that, but we're going to revisit that, as well as we're doing Straight Talk, leads to Straight Understanding, and we're looking for a home for all of these places outside of just the podcast. But right now, it's just a fun venture that I'm doing, that I'm having an exciting time sharing the perspectives on life and sharing my perspectives as a man of God and a man of life experiences, both from the streets and the suites, and being able to share those perspectives honorably to the world, which I think sometimes the world is missing.
But also, as well, aside from your podcast and everything you've done in your entire iconic career, what is next for yourself? Is there anything we happen to miss during this interview? Anything else you do still wish to speak about or promote? What was to got you here live on the Canadian FM dial this evening?
Absolutely. Again, My Beverages, which we have a CBD enhanced water, no THC, CBD infused water, and we did that because we wanted to tackle the health community and the health benefits of CBD, and put it in a form where you can drink it, and something that we always drink and we always need, which is water. And we identified and put just enough to where it doesn't compromise taste, nor does it compromise the look of it to make it cloudy and anything. So we have about 10 milligrams of CBD in each of our bottles. And that's one of the things that we're doing collectively. We are, Brett didn't mention it, but we still are exploring doing some 783 new ventures, which will be a more mature sound of what it is that we always did. We've been speaking about that. Brett, Muggs, and I have always had those thoughts, and we have been exploring that. I am doing a Straight Talk, Lisa Straight Understanding on IG, YouTube, Facebook, are the platforms that is going through, and we're going to transition that into a full-on podcast. Look out for different television and film ventures as well. I just produced a film with myself and my partner Darius Aubrey, executive produced, wrote, and directed the film, and we produced it together, called Don't Block Your Blessings, which is a short. It's a 20-minute short that we're going to be putting into film festivals, and I will be doing some more television and film projects between Darius and between Marvin Green and my brother, as well as other ventures. I will be doing that. Musically, I do consult. I do consultation, just use my experiences for people who are trying to get into the industry. Music isn't really my passion anymore. I'm kind of jaded there, but the experiences that I had, I do like to share so that people don't have to fall in any pitfalls that we've experienced, or I experienced directly. And I guess lastly would be I have some producers like Gotti Benz out of Tampa, my man Obed Santiago, or B.I.G, is the producer, and he has been putting me into a lot of different music ventures because I'm mentored with him. And so I just wound up going to Zadru that just opened up a gym out here in Woodland Hills that I might be helping to promote the gym, as well as exposing. He has a celebrity fight platform that he's developing. So I want to, if I can lend any of my experiences there, I'm going to do so. And wherever I can be helpful, I tend to land my feet and place my hand into those type of situations. So television and film, that will be my next venture, as well as still tapping into music. But we're doing music from the standpoint of out of the enjoyment of doing music, not out of necessity of trying to make music for, I guess, for consumer purposes. We're going in it for artistic and creative purposes.
But also, Sean, this is the time in the interview quickly that I give a chance for the individual that does slide into the radio station airwaves, just a chance to give shout-outs to whomever they want to give shout-outs to, but most of all your social media handles. That way our listeners can follow you and stay updated on everything you got going on if they're not already doing so.
All right. Well, first and foremost, shout out to DJ Immortal. Thank you for having me. Shout out to Canada. Shout out to the U.S. Shout out to everybody in the world who is tuning in. My social media handles are Sean Bouldin, SeanBouldin, at Instagram, at Facebook, and on YouTube. I do have other handles that I am that I handle business-wise, like Sean B783. That is me too, but the priority one is Sean Bouldin on all of those platforms. I would like to shout out some of the people that I just mentioned. My brother, of course, the founder of all of this. If not for him, there would be no. Well, I don't know, but there will likely not be a Soul Assassin Cyphers, Funk Dubious, Sean B783, and so on. So shout him out. Big up to Brett Bouldin. Big up to my partner Marvin Green as well. Big up to My Beverages, which is the other social media platform that I will say. Our website is www.my-beverages.com. www.my-beverages.com, and our Instagram is official My Beverages on Instagram for our water company, My Beverages. So that, I believe, will be it outside of my family, my loved ones, of course, my mother, my daughters, my love, everybody who I'm associated with, who has helped me to get to where I am, because we don't do this on our own. There's no such thing as self-made, because we all have had help. And so I thank all those who helped me, and I look forward to being able to help others.
And I gotta say, first and foremost, Sean, thank you so much for just giving us a bit of your time here this evening, and also actually getting a hold of your brother Brett and having him chime in for a few minutes before his studio session. Man, it truthfully was an honor to be able to converse and interview both of you amazing individuals this evening, man. And thank you so much to both of you guys as well for just years of monumental music.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And speaking of music, Brett did do an album called Welcome to Doobie Land. That it was Brett B. Presents Son Doobie, Welcome to Doobie Land. That is available on online. I forget. But if you look it up, you'll be able to find it. Great work that they did together a few years ago, and it's still classic to this time. It's kind of like vintage Son Doobie with his first, which Doobie UB, and his second album as well. It's vintage. It sounds like that. It has a lot of that feel and direction. So check that out. Check out my nephew CA. Check out. I mean, I got too many people to shout out musically because I'm associated with so many people. Maury, Obed, and Gotti, and like I said, CZ, and there's so many people. CZ from Ghana, Ali Gabriel. These are people that I have no association with directly, other than being a good friend and or mentor with all of them. But they all have one thing in common, which is some great music. So check them out as well.
And I gotta say, first and foremost, Sean, again, thank you so much, man. And I definitely appreciate your time this Monday night, man. But I hope you have a good rest of your Monday night, and hopefully down the line we can make this happen again sometime soon.
Well, again, thank you. You're welcome, and we can make it happen. I would like to make it happen again, especially when we have some of the things that I just spoke about coming to fruition, so that we can introduce it to your audiences, as well as keep your audiences, keep abreast of what your audiences are doing and what's special out there in Canada, so that we can be in tune. And I thank you for keeping us in tune.
Hey, you are most certainly welcome, man, and definitely, we're connected on Facebook and Instagram, of course, so whenever those projects do drop, make sure you hit me up, and we definitely can make that happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, thank you for having me, and it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure as well, Sean. Thank you so much, man, and definitely have yourself a wonderful night.
Thank you. You do the same.